City officials today sharing more details about what happened yesterday. The new mayor expressed his compassion for the child and families, the children and families impacted by what's occurred. County Commissioner Roger Garcia also spoke about the personal stories he's heard.
Any serious crime, of course we understand those individuals will meet their repercussions from a law perspective and law enforcement perspective. We understand that. But the individuals caught up yesterday, at least from the personal stories that I am aware of, did not fit that profile.
In fact, Roger Garcia went on to say he had a family member impacted. While briefing reporters this afternoon, the police chief said the department was made aware ICE and Homeland Security would come to Omaha about 10 days ago. However, the specifics of when exactly they would show up and where was not clear until yesterday morning when they were asked to help with traffic.